YouTube. The day is finally upon us, and the Indian Challenger is here. Well, it's announced. It's here. It's not yet here. So we have some specs and different things to go over, and we can finally look at weight, what this lean system is, and different things like that. So we're going to kind of get into it, and I'm very excited to get into the lean system because Indian did put out a video for it, which I recommend you go check that out. I'll put that in the description. The way they break down everything was great, because Harley does have the RDRS, but they never, they explain it, but they didn't explain it like this. And if there is something out there like that, go ahead and throw it in the comments. I'd love to check it out so I can compare on how they talked about it. But let's go ahead and get into the Challenger and a couple clips. Alright guys, there's a lot going on with this bike, and besides the Road Glide clone stuff, there's quite a bit different. I mean, it's not, you know, they didn't do the two headlight, where like with the Street Glide and the Chieftain is one headlight and more aggressive and blah blah blah. Whatever they wanted to sell themselves on, they are selling more Chieftains than they did before. Now, that being said, they're still selling the Roadmaster in the old fairing. So what the biggest thing that I've come to see is a lot of people like fixed fairing bikes for pounding miles, and Indian needed to address this. So, you know, they've got inspiration from all the other baggers, the Yamaha, the Goldwing, you know, of course Harley's going to be what it gets compared to. This is the American V-twin market that they're after, and they are taking shots. And I think by doing a completely different, I'm so glad they didn't do the double headlight. And there's nothing against the Road Glide. I think the new Road Glide looks great. But there's a couple things that varied with this motorcycle that I like better than the Road Glide. One of the biggest factors for me being a short rider on the Road Glide is reaching the infotainment center. This one puts it right there. Now, that's going to make some weird issues with the bars. They do have mid-risers from factory that I'll probably really want to try out, but you're not going to be able to do things like T-bars, which a lot of people that do performance stuff with their Road Glides do. Now, that's just one of those drawbacks of being different and having to change and do other things, because once again, any little thing you're going too close to them or too far, it's back and forth. I've seen people already complain that it doesn't have two headlights. It's got one head. It's got three technically, if you want to count the LED bars. The LED lights, so far from what I've gathered, look like what they do on, say, my 2016 Silverado. I have running LED lights that stop when you're using the turn signal on that side. From what I've gathered of the video, might be wrong. Maybe it was just a glitch in the camera and the lighting and blah blah, you know, all that stuff. But from what I gathered, that side shuts off, LED light turns on for the turn signals. So it's a give and take. The adjustable windshield though is a huge draw. I loved having that on the Chieftain when I rode it, and having the infotainment center close to me is great. I've not liked big bars on Road Glides or so far on this, just seeing it on the computer, but that's just building it on the computer. So we really got to get into what it's going to feel like in person, what it's going to look like. Does the bike ride that well? And if it rides anything like Chieftain, it's going to be super, super great for curves, and just the best way to explain the Chieftain is it rides like a feather. I mean, it's just, you don't realize you're going into corners with an 800+ pound bike. Getting into the weight, this bike is right there with the Chieftain. So far, sorry guys, it's early and a lot going on. Now, you guys already know it's a 108 cubic inch motor. It's their new Power Plus. They're going to be doing the same things like they do on the Chieftain. They have a stage 1 intake and stage 1 exhaust. So of course right now we don't have you know, stage 2 cams and big bore, anything like that. This is a brand new motor, and we're getting into all the new stuff from the start. The Scout went through all that stuff, and we're getting there. Now, and a lot of people address this, why does Harley hide their horsepower numbers? You know, horsepower numbers don't normally matter when it comes to V-twin baggers or V10 twins in general. The same thing with the Scout. The Scout is rated at 100 horsepower, which that leads me to this 122 out of 108 motor, where my 69 motor is getting 100. And once I tuned it, it got more than that. So I feel like this is just a sleeping dragon ready to get poked. And sorry, I'm childish. Now, so the intake and exhaust and a tune, I would imagine on this bike, those numbers are definitely gonna change. Hopefully you get those numbers closer to the wheel, because I would imagine this is just from the crank. But I mean, still, the Scout itself, weighing in at like 540 pounds with my ass on it, hauls ass. No question about it. I'll take out 114 Road Glide with a skinny guy on it. And I've done it with the Chieftain too, so nothing against the Harley guys. I've just done the 116 and 114, and the bobber just hauls ass. Now, let's get into where I was saying. Yes, the weight is 831 pounds. Seat height is 26.5. You've got the overall width at like 39 inches, stuff like, if you guys care about that kind of stuff. Ground clearance at 5.4, I'm sorry. Lean angle is 31. So it's the same as the Chieftain, so I imagine it's going to go great into the corners like the Chieftain does. Just got to feel how that front fairing is going to weigh in on those turns and those slow turns. That's going to be like the biggest thing for me. When I rode the Road Glide CVO, going into corner, like slow maneuver turns, it felt nose heavy to me. But I've heard, you know, that it's untouchable on the freeway. So having that fixed fairing is what everybody comes around to. Now getting to the dash, the gauges have a fairing mounted instrument cluster featuring an analog speedometer, tachometer with fuel gauge range. You're going to have 15 LED tail indicators, and that's going to be your cruise control, your neutral, your set cruise control, turn signals, your ABS light, your check engine light, the low pressure battery, all that stuff. Now, of course, you're going to have a lot more of this in your ride command, telling you the numbers of your air pressure and stuff like that. So it's not; those are just in case, like, or you know, something's wrong. Except for the ABS comes on until like 7 miles an hour on the other bike, so I'd imagine it's going to be the same on this bike. Now with your ride command, this is a new ride command. Of course, it doesn't have Apple Play or Android Play like the Harleys do, but I'm imagining that they're going to come along soon. Just the same as like when Chevy started it, you know, now Ford and everybody else is jumping on ship and making sure they have that. Me personally, love the Apple Play. 2016 Malibu had it. 2016 Silverado didn't. Don't know why, when the 2016 Silverado cost a lot more. But neither here nor there. So I'd imagine we're going to have that later down the road. I would hope that they are able to put it in models before. I know people are definitely wanting it. Granted, I don't know anybody that has talked about it using it on their Harley. Of course, the lights are LED, including the Pathfinder LED headlamp. I'm guessing they just use that Pathfinder light name as their LED headlamps, because that's the same thing that's on the Bobber and FTR. Now your ride command, let's see, standard equipment for the Dark, I'm reading on the Dark Horse, the standard model is going to have no locking bags, the lean angle technology is not going to be there, stuff like that. So if you're looking, I mean, it does start at like 21.9 for the standard, so if you're looking to get in this without all the, you know, other features and paint schemes and motor, because the motor is a little bit different, it's like a flat black motor with chrome and different things like that. So it's definitely a good starting point if you're going to build off of it anyway. But for me, I would go Dark Horse and just get the stuff that I would really like, and that includes the ride command with navigation, smart lean technology, selectable ride modes, locking hard saddlebags, Brembo brakes, 18 gallons of storage, ABS, keyless ignition, chassis mounted fairing, adjustable fairing, airflow vents, power windshield, adjustable air vents. So that's just kind of going over all the boring stuff with the bike, you guys. Now that 831, I want to come back to this on the weight of the bike. That's your wet weight, full all your fluids, and with a full tank. Without a full tank, it's 796. I don't know if they're counting the other fluids. They don't say that they are. But the fuel capacity is 6 gallons. Now the Chieftain's 5.5. So there's extra weight just from that half a gallon. Granted, it's only probably my numbers could be wrong, guys. Sorry, it's early. I believe 4 pounds? I believe gas is something. Let me look. And I'm back. So 4.2 pounds. Gotta get that 0.2 in there. But looking at this bike, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on with it. In Indian, I'll link if you go to Indian Motorcycles YouTube channel and you watch the lean video that I'm leaving in the thing, they show a bike go down. So they put one of these down, showing you the adjustment differences in the lean angle. Now, it's another thing, like a lot of people don't see behind the scenes, is when they build bikes like this, they run them until the motors blow. They do all these different things as much as they can. And they've talked about running this motor for like 200,000+ miles or something, something crazy like that. But I'm really digging. I want to get on it. I want to sit on it. I want to feel it. And I really want to start figuring out how it feels compared to the Chieftain. So far I've been more of a batwing person, where the bars are, where the screen is to me. I'm not a big guy, so I'm not going for that lean. I am a big guy, I'm not a tall guy. So one of these biggest things is the people like that extra room. I know me and Brian Picasso were talking about that. So one last thing I want to dig in here on is the name Challenger. One person was telling me, and I can't find the information on this, that Hindi, one of the original creators of Indian motorcycles, had a bicycle, a motorbike, because that's how most of this stuff started, named the Challenger. That's really cool. I give you that. But that went away for a while. And Dodge came along. And the Challenger is one of the most iconic muscle cars of all time. When I think about, the pony wars of Ford, Mustang, and Dodge, and you had the Challenger and the Cudas, and Dodge alone, muscle car wise, Roadrunner, Charger, Challenger, all these things, which they're all trying to bring back now. But I grew up around these. My dad's a Mopar guy. Challenger is never. The name by itself, I don't think is going to get to fully separate from the Dodge Challenger. And that's the biggest problem with it. The name sounds cool, but it's already been cool. So I believe the bike's going to stand out on its own as Indian's, varying amount of bike. The name itself falls a little flat. And I get where they're doing. They're really, and I made this video, introducing the Challenger and all that stuff as, coming in to go against the heavyweight Harley Davidson. And that's where they're really hitting with this, challenge the way you think about American-made motorcycles. They're in it. And I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens with this and to see where it goes, to see where it pushes Harley Davidson, to see where it keeps pushing Indian. Another thing I want to get into, they don't show the touring pack fitting this motorcycle, which surprises me. The rear looks a lot like a Chieftain. I don't know why. It was different that they couldn't fit the touring pack on there. The seat, is a new seat. Maybe it is a little bit wider. You know what? Let's look at those numbers real quick. Interesting. So the Chieftain is 39.4 inches wide. The Challenger is 39 inches wide. So we do have a big difference there. I mean, nothing crazy, you know, it's not. But that may mean some of the features from the Chieftain, sissy bar, touring pack, don't fit. It's very interesting. I totally thought they were going to use the same back end, and they did not. So that's going to mean a couple things. Sissy bars are going to be different. Touring pack may come later, I'm guessing. I have a feeling, I'm going to call it right now, that there's going to be another, at least 2 bikes in the next year. Let's give it that. One of them could be even sooner. And I don't know if they're going to do the same thing as Chieftain and Roadmaster, where you have the 2 different names for the same bike, just with a touring pack and all that fun stuff. But I would imagine we see the Challenger with leg guards and a touring pack in the near future. I don't know what they're going to call it. They could call it so many different things. Well, it could be a Challenger XL, do it the GM way, or you could do it the Chevy way, where they go from Tahoe to Suburban, just the extended reach on that. I'm very interested to see what they do. I mean, just call it the Hyundai. Just go right at it. Alright, you guys. Alright, real quick before we wrap this up, we're going to look at the standard. Since it is coming in at 21.9, it's definitely got a massive amount of potential when you're saving like $6 grand. So we have all the same numbers on everything. Of course, we always figured that. Let's get into specs. Fairing mounted. 7. Okay. So the infotainment center is 7-inch touchscreen display with real-time clock, air temperature, heading, audio information, Bluetooth, USB, smartphone compatible input, and weather band. So you can clearly see they're leaving out the navigation and the road command. The road command is the name of the technology going into this. Now you can add it on. I've already talked to a dealer because they have the Chieftain standard, but it costs you, I can't remember how much. I'm not gonna say the numbers without knowing, because I don't want to be too high or too low. But it's a certain amount of money to get the technology, and then it's a certain amount of money to have it installed by a professional, because it has to be installed by a dealer. Now, selectable ride modes are still there. Locking hard saddlebags. Doesn't say remote locking though. That's interesting. Storage is all the same. ABS, keyless ignition, chassis mounted fairing, adjustable fairing, airflow vents, power windshield. Okay. Now I'm going to have to get back on the, I don't know if they're remote locking bags. But it sounds like the bags are still locking. That's going to be definitely a question, because I know a lot of people getting into the touring bikes have a lot of love for the remote locking bags. But all right, I think it's about time we wrap it up. I feel like I just can keep going. Oh, the hood ornament. Hood ornament. That's what it looks like on the fender. It's new. It's small. It still lights up. I'm guessing it might on the standard, or might not. But I'm interested to see that as well. And I'm curious why the highway bars are not a standard thing. I think they're just going more of a sporty look, and I know some people complain about highway bars in general. Alright guys, give me your thoughts in the comments. You can go to IndianMotorcycle.com. You can build it out. There is a lot of stuff and a lot of pricey stuff when you're coming to the brand for all the gadgets and all the crazy stuff. I don't know if I like that or not. God damn it. Alright guys, well, I hope you enjoyed my take on it. I know some people were wondering because I've been very on it about this motorcycle, and I'm very curious to how they're gonna do everything, how they're gonna work all this stuff. You can see there's definitely some improvements from the Chieftain. I'm guessing that's got like a rubber style to the bottom of that saddlebag. I felt like I scraped one when I went through, but I'm sure it was probably peg or something else. But if you go back to my Long Beach show Chieftain with the bars, I came in through that corner and I don't know, I had a lot of fun on that bike. So it's going to be an interesting next couple months, and hopefully I can get out to one of these events going on. Who knows, what they'll be and how they'll do it, but I'm happy to be here. So, alright guys, like always, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, stay classy, try to be open-minded about things. Don't be so closed-minded. I'm not saying you are, but there's people out there that are just very shut down about the way things should be and what they shouldn't be and blah, 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 blah. Live your life. That's it. Life's a garden. Dig it. There you go.